What if I told you that the roots of one of today's most persistent conflicts can be traced back to thousands of years ago? Indeed, the saga of the Israel-Palestine conflict is deeply rooted in the annals of ancient history. Let's journey back to the time when the region was known as Canaan, the crossroads of ancient civilizations. The land, nestled between the Mediterranean Sea and the Jordan River, was of strategic importance, coveted by a multitude of empires. It was here that the ancient Israelites established their kingdom, and it was here that the early Palestinian civilizations thrived. Fast forward to the 20th century and you'll find the region under the British Mandate for Palestine, a period that was instrumental in shaping the modern Israel-Palestine conflict. It was during this time that the Balfour Declaration was issued, a statement of intent by the British government to establish a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. The Balfour Declaration, however, was controversial. It was seen by many Palestinians as a betrayal of their rights to self-determination. Meanwhile, it provided hope for Jews around the world who longed for a homeland. The stage was set for a clash of nationalisms, a collision of identities and aspirations that would reverberate through the decades. The British, caught in the crossfire of escalating tensions, ultimately decided to withdraw their mandate, leaving the fate of the region in the hands of the newly formed United Nations. The UN proposed a partition plan, dividing the land into separate Jewish and Arab states. However, the plan was rejected by the Palestinian Arabs and the surrounding Arab states, setting the stage for the First Arab-Israeli War in 1948. And so, as the sun set on the British Empire, the seeds of discord had already been sown. The stage was set for a conflict that would endure for generations, a conflict that continues to simmer in the 21st century, a conflict that asks complex questions about identity, nationalism, and the very concept of a homeland. In the ashes of World War II, a new nation was born. A nation that would forever alter the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East: Israel. In the aftermath of the Holocaust, the world witnessed an unprecedented mass migration of Jews seeking refuge. Many of them, driven by the Zionist dream, found solace in the promise of a Jewish homeland in Palestine, as endorsed by the Balfour Declaration of 1917. The United Nations in 1947 proposed a partition plan, dividing Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states. The Jewish Agency for Palestine accepted the plan, but it met with vehement opposition from the Arab community. The year 1948 marked a significant turning point in this narrative. On the 14th of May, David Ben-Gurion, the head of the Jewish Agency, declared the establishment of the State of Israel. This declaration was met with immediate recognition from major world powers, including the United States and the Soviet Union. But it also sparked a conflict that continues to smolder to this day. The birth of Israel led to the displacement of an estimated 700,000 Palestinians, a catastrophic event known in Arabic as Nakba, or the catastrophe. Dispossessed and driven from their homes, these Palestinians found themselves refugees in their own land. The 1948 war, often termed as the War of Independence by Israelis and the Nakba by Palestinians, was the first of many Arab-Israeli conflicts. Despite being outnumbered, the newly formed Israeli Defense Forces managed to hold their ground and even expand their territories beyond the proposed borders. The war ended in 1949 with armistice agreements between Israel and neighboring Arab states. But the peace was tenuous at best. The seeds of resentment had been sown deep, and the stage was set for a conflict that would not only shape the destiny of Israel and Palestine, but also ripple across the world. A nation was born, but not without a price. The birth of Israel, while a beacon of hope for many Jews, marked the beginning of a protracted struggle for the Palestinians, a struggle that continues to define the contours of this fraught land and its people. A war that lasted less than a week changed the face of the Middle East forever. This war, known as the Six-Day War, was a pivotal moment in the history of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It unfolded in June 1967 as tensions between Israel and its Arab neighbours escalated. The immediate cause of the war was Egypt's closure of the Straits of Tiran to Israeli shipping, a move that Israel considered an act of war. However, beneath this immediate trigger lay a deeper, more complex tapestry of territorial disputes, political tensions, and deep-seated animosity. The war itself was swift and decisive. Israel launched a preemptive strike against Egypt, destroying much of its air force. This initial success set the tone for the rest of the war. In less than a week, Israel had not only defended its territory, but had also gained significant new lands. The Sinai Peninsula and Gaza Strip from Egypt, the West Bank and East Jerusalem from Jordan, and the Golan Heights from Syria now all fell under Israeli control. These territorial gains had profound implications. For Israel, they provided a strategic depth and a sense of security. But for the Palestinians, they marked a further loss of lands and rights. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians found themselves under Israeli occupation, their lives and futures profoundly affected. The aftermath of the Six-Day War also saw a shift in the geopolitics of the region. The Arab nations were forced to reckon with a new reality, one in which Israel was a formidable military power. This set the stage for future conflicts and peace attempts, shaping the contours of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict for decades to come. The Six-Day War was not just a military conflict, it was a turning point in the history of the Middle East. It changed the balance of power in the region, reshaped national boundaries, and deepened the divide between Israelis and Palestinians. In 6 days, the map was redrawn and the stakes were heightened. The road to peace is often paved with good intentions, and yet history has seen numerous attempts to resolve the Israel-Palestine conflict, with many of these efforts encountering roadblocks or petering out completely. Let's take a closer look at some of the most notable peace initiatives. The Camp David Accords in the late 70s marked a significant leap towards peace. Brokered by the United States between Israel and Egypt, it was a historic agreement that saw Israel withdraw from the Sinai Peninsula. However, it failed to address the broader Israel-Palestine issue, leaving the Palestinians feeling marginalized and discontented. Next came the Oslo Accords in the early 90s. Initiated in Norway, these agreements were meant to establish a framework that would lead to the resolution of the ongoing conflict. The accords led to mutual recognition between Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization. However, they were unable to resolve the most contentious issues, such as the status of Jerusalem and the right of return for Palestinian refugees. The agreements eventually fell apart, leading to renewed conflict. In the early 21st century, the international community presented the roadmap for peace. This plan, backed by the United States, European Union, United Nations and Russia, aimed to end the conflict and establish a Palestinian state living side by side with Israel in peace. However, the plan struggled to gain traction. Both sides accused each other of non-compliance, and the roadmap eventually led to a dead end. Each of these peace initiatives started with hope and promise, but ended in disappointment. They were hindered by deep-seated mistrust, uncompromising positions, and a lack of political will. The failure to address the root causes of the conflict only led to a perpetuation of the cycle of violence. Despite the best efforts, peace remained elusive. This is a stark reminder that peace is not simply the absence of conflict, but the presence of justice. Until the core issues are addressed, and both sides are willing to make difficult compromises, the road to peace will remain fraught with challenges. When diplomacy fails, the people often take matters into their own hands. These words echo in the aftermath of failed peace attempts, ringing true in the context of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The people's response manifested in the form of intifadas, or uprisings. The first Intifada, which spanned from December 1987 to 1993, was largely a grassroots movement. It was characterized by widespread civil disobedience, general strikes, boycotts and riots. The second Intifada, also known as the Al-Aqsa Intifada, began in September 2000 and was much more violent, involving suicide bombings and military operations. These uprisings were not just expressions of frustration and desperation. They were a plea for justice, a call for recognition of the Palestinian struggle, and they were met with a strong Israeli response. The violence that characterized these periods was tragic, with casualties on both sides. Israel's response to the violence was multifaceted, but perhaps the most visual symbol of this period is the construction of the separation wall. Officially known as the security fence by Israel, the wall is a complex set of fences, ditches, razor wire, groomed sandpaths, an electronic monitoring system, patrol roads, and a buffer zone. The wall, which is still under construction, is projected to stretch over 700 kilometers upon completion. It snakes through the West Bank, carving a stark line through towns and fields, separating families and communities. It has been justified as a necessary measure for security, a physical barrier to prevent attacks. However, the wall has also been criticized for its impact on the Palestinian people. It restricts movement, cuts off access to lands and resources, and is considered by many as a symbol of oppression. Walls do not only keep others out, they also lock people in. The separation wall is a poignant reminder of the complexities of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, a symbol of division and a testament to the enduring struggle for peace in a land where history, religion, and politics are inextricably intertwined. In the land of prophets, what does the future hold? This question hangs heavily in the air as we delve into the current state of affairs in the ongoing Israel and Palestine conflict. At present, the situation remains fraught with tension. The status of Jerusalem, a city of immense religious and historical significance, is one of the most contentious aspects of the conflict. Israel considers it its undivided capital, while Palestinians seek East Jerusalem as the capital of a future Palestinian state. This dichotomy of views continues to fuel the flames of discord. Simultaneously, the issue of Israeli settlements in the West Bank adds another layer of complexity. These settlements, viewed as illegal under international law, have been a source of constant friction. Their continued existence and expansion not only encroach on Palestinian land, but also raise questions about the feasibility of a contiguous and viable Palestinian state. The human rights scenario is equally troubling. Both sides have been accused of human rights abuses, yet the Palestinian populace living under occupation arguably bears the brunt of the suffering. The restrictions on movement, the demolition of homes, and the lack of access to resources are stark reminders of a grim reality. Looking forward to potential future scenarios, it's hard to predict with certainty. However, it's clear that the role of the international community will be pivotal. More than ever, there's a need for a balanced and concerted effort to broker peace. The two-state solution, long considered the most viable option, seems increasingly elusive. Yet it may still be possible with the right amount of political will and international support. Alternatively, a one-state solution where Israelis and Palestinians coexist as equal citizens is gaining traction. However, this would require a radical shift in mindset and a willingness to share power, which is currently lacking. As we navigate these murky waters, it's crucial to remember that at the heart of this conflict are people. People who, regardless of their nationality or religion, yearn for a life of peace and dignity. The land is the same, but the story continues to evolve. And as it does, the world watches, hoping for a future where the land of prophets becomes a land of peace. In the heart of the Middle East, a conflict endures, but why? The answer, as we've explored, is deeply rooted in a complex tapestry of history, identity, and politics. The Israel-Palestine conflict didn't just spring from the ether. It's a product of generations of struggle, interwoven with the birth of a nation, the displacement of a people, and the dreams of two societies yearning for a place to call home. We journeyed back to the genesis of this conflict, witnessing the birth of Israel and the subsequent displacement of the Palestinian people. It was a time of celebration for some, of catastrophe for others. The stage was set for a drama that would span decades, marked by periods of intense violence and fleeting moments of hopeful peace. Fast forward to the Six-Day War, a pivotal moment in this narrative that changed the face of the Middle East. Israel emerged victorious, but the battle lines were drawn deeper, carving wounds that still bleed today. We navigated through the peace attempts and their failures, from the Camp David Accords to the Oslo agreements. Each attempt, though noble in intention, only seemed to highlight the seemingly insurmountable obstacles standing in the way of lasting peace. And then we witnessed the Intifadas and the construction of the separation wall, physical manifestations of a conflict that had moved beyond just borders and territories. It was now a battle for dignity, for identity, for survival. Finally, we considered the current situation and pondered the future prospects. Despite the challenges, the dream of peace is not dead. It lives on in the hearts of those who refuse to be defined by the conflict, who envision a world where both Israelis and Palestinians can coexist in harmony. Understanding the past is key to shaping the future, and in this land, the future is yet unwritten. So let us continue to explore, to ask questions, to seek truth, and in doing so we may yet find the path to peace. Remember to like, share and subscribe for more content like this as we continue to delve deeper into the histories and mysteries of our world.